plops her suitcase down, opens it up and pulls out The Power of Now.
There it is.
And says, will you read this? Somebody just gave it to me at the airport and I'm not going to read it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was like, ding, 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 ding.
You're listening to the Spiritual Shitshow podcast with Suzanne Sole, episode 59. Hello, all you gorgeous beings, and welcome to the Spiritual Shitshow podcast, where we get into the labyrinth, the healing, and spiritual awakening journey can be. I'm your host, Suzanne Sole, comedian, lifelong spiritual student, and I'm sharing some of the tidbits I've learned along my journey that have helped me and that I hope help you too. So, if you've been following the Spiritual Shitshow podcast, you might remember Chicago-based New Thought minister Rev Linda Jackson from one of my Asking for a Friend series episodes called What the Fuck is Consciousness?, where she helped us unpack the four kingdoms of consciousness created by Rev Dr. Michael Beckwith, aka To Me, By Me, Through Me, and As Me. Check it out if you want to know more. It's a really cool episode and a really cool teaching. Anywho, I recently had the opportunity to sit down live and in person with Rev Linda, and now we're pulling back the curtain on her personal story, her spiritual journey, her path to ministry, and the personal revelations that shaped the message in her ministry she shares today. Rev Linda Jackson serves as the assistant minister at Cityside Spiritual Community in Chicago, where she lovingly supports volunteer teams, the practitioner corps, and the broader community. You'll often find her on the platform delivering Sunday talks, facilitating classes and workshops, or backstage making the whole thing run. Linda's path to ministry is layered and deeply intentional. Linda became a minister of religious science and interfaith minister through Emerson Theological Institute in 2020 and was licensed by Centers for Spiritual Living in 2021. She's also a certified conscious leadership coach, clinical hypnotherapist, spiritual practitioner, master prosperity teacher, and yes, she's the real deal. But beyond the titles, she's a maker of community, art, and sacred spaces. Linda's life is a living demonstration of the creative process in action, and she brings this same intentionality to her work as a graphic designer and co-founder of Pair Design, where she helps individuals and organizations discover the spiritual essence of their brand. What I love most about Linda is that she doesn't just teach spiritual principles, she embodies them. She follows the inner terrain of transformation with compassion, humor, and deep wisdom. So let's get into this conversation with Rev Linda Jackson, shall we? Here we go. Miss Linda Jackson.
Miss Suzanne Sole.
Welcome to the Spiritual Shitshow interview shit show.
It's so nice to be here.
It's so nice to see you. You look gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God, as per usual.
Oh, thank you.
So you are a New Thought minister.
I am.
And part of the ministerial team at Cityside Spiritual Community in Chicago.
Yes, Cityside Center for Spiritual Living.
It's
part of the larger organization, Centers for Spiritual Living.
Okay, and can you tell us about that spiritual center and what you guys are all about and what your role?
Well, my formal role is Director of Education and Community Engagement.
Love it.
Which really just means we all kind of do everything.
Yeah, right, of course. That's how it is in a church.
But I love, finding ways to connect with the community and getting more related there and bringing in new people and then working with classes and programming and things like that alongside of Reverend Amy Daniels, the spiritual director.
Yeah. So what are some of the ways that you reach out, or what ways do you find are really effective in community engagement, getting the community involved and stuff?
That is a great question. I thought you were going to ask I was going the other way with like connecting with people outside, because one of the things I've been working on is getting involved in like our local chamber of commerce and getting involved in their art walk.
Oh, that's
and
great.
Having an art exhibit and then bringing people in to see that who would not normally be interested in spiritual community, or they maybe don't know that they're interested in spiritual community because it's not the traditional idea of church. And, there's a lot of people who have religious trauma or baggage from childhood.
Can you share, like, how is New Thought, how is Centers for Spiritual Living, spiritual beliefs or ideology different from more traditional cultural religions?
Well, it is based on Christianity in that there is the idea of a Christ figure, but that is Christ consciousness, and Christ is not the exception, rather the model for how we can all live our lives. And to know that, we're not being saved by something outside of ourselves, that we, through changing our thinking, changing our behavior, changing the way we move through the world, we can change our experience. One of the sayings that you hear associated with Science of Mind, that's the teaching that Centers for Spiritual Living is based on. And a phrase that you often hear is change your thinking, change your life. And I think I might have said this to you before, but it bears repeating. One of my teachers, Dr. Tom Sanner, the late Dr. Tom Sanner, always said it should have been, instead of change your thinking, change your life, transform the thinker. Because it's not just easy, magical thinking. If I change this, then my life is different. It's like, in the process of changing our thinking, we are transformed, and then we have a different experience.
Say that again.
In the process of changing our thinking, we are transformed.
So it's not just the thoughts that have been changed, it's the process.
Yes. And if we think about, our thoughts are based on what we believe, right? What we believe. So if we have limiting beliefs, they're running those thoughts, and we're moving through the world, seeing through the filter of those thoughts.
Right.
And then we're only seeing what we believe. So we're going to keep validating those beliefs and whatever behaviors we have, and we're going to keep out picturing the same stuff, right? But in back of the beliefs are, what did we need in the first place? What was the thing that was going on that made us develop that belief? So Centers for Spiritual Living, or Science of Mind, really does work mostly with changing your thoughts, and it's love and law. Law is the idea that what we keep putting into the law keeps coming out in our experience. But the love piece of it is really incredibly important. And that's connecting to this idea that we are whole, perfect, and complete, and that we are one with the divine. We are one with love. And that as we remember that and realign with that, then that comes out in our experience.
It feels like the heart aspect of it kind of helps to temper the cause and effect law aspect of it, because that can feel probably overwhelming.
Well, I think it's one of the hazards of the teaching, really. It starts to become this idea of like, it's my fault.
Right. That's what I mean.
Like, I did this, and now I'm having this experience, and this is all my problem.
Right.
And it's really just starting where you are and remembering that we're whole, perfect, and complete at the basis of who we are, at our authentic nature, and to come from that love, and to remember that love, and to align with that love, and then to bring ourselves into our work that way, rather than from the, I did it wrong, and I beat myself up. Yeah.
So like starting with the base of the love, and then thinking about the way that what we're putting in is coming out to show us. But
it's not to make us wrong.
Right.
Never to shame, never to blame. That would serve no purpose.
Right. Exactly. Right. And then we would be back
right where
we started in a shaming situation. So you are a graphic designer by trade.
I have been. Yes,
You
I
have
have. I
been.
still do that.
Still
Quite a
do
bit
that.
of that.
Yeah,
but
you have you have a new version of your graphic design, which is
Well, so my business with my partner for like over 35 years now is Pear Design.
hair design.
And that's PEAR design, not
Yeah.
HAIR, which often happened over the years. Pear Design and, brand identity work and developing the look and feel for materials and communication, but also the brand itself. And at some point when I was on this spiritual journey and personal development journey, and one license led to another, and I was beginning to do some of this for my work as well, I was looking at, well, how do I brand myself now? Like, how, I don't want to be the I sell snake oil too kind of feeling. Well, I'm a graphic designer in the morning, I see people in the
right.
and so one of the things that occurred was I created this format for the work that I do in branding that's called Uncover the Spirit of Your Brand.
Yes.
And it's really similar to traditional branding in vision, values, purpose, all of that. But the key thing that's different is like sort of an old model for marketing would have been you kind of see what the audience needs and then you kind of become that and promote to that.
Yes.
And this model is based on be who you truly are, be your authentic self, and represent that as clearly and powerfully as possible. And then you automatically attract you. So marketing 101 and kind of law of attraction 101 became the same course,
I love
so to
that.
speak.
I love that. So you were working as a graphic designer. You started attending New Thought Church. And which was your first church that you...
Well, yes, I was working as a graphic designer at the time. I was also in a dark night of the soul for various other reasons.
Yeah, can you share about that?
I can. And to answer your question, the first place that I attended was Chicago Center for Spiritual Living, which then became Bodhi Spiritual Center.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dark Night of the Soul.
Coming up.
So I had been married for over 16 years and divorced. I had teenage kids. I had gone into another sort of longer term relationship over 6 years. And when that wasn't working and I was ending that, I was really struggling because I was like, okay, wait a minute. I can't just blame it out there, right? I'm the common denominator in both of these relationships, right? So I really was looking at what is mine here. And it took me a minute to get there. I mean, there was just a lot of pain first, right?
Yeah.
And a fun story that goes along with this is a friend had invited me to Aspen there's an international rugby festival that occurs there.
Who knew?
And, I think they were like, you got to come out here. There's all these guys. And,
you need to meet someone.
Of course, if you don't fix the problem first, it probably isn't going to go very well. You're probably going to
pick up another situation just like
exactly. Yeah. But I went. It was really interesting. There's all these players from all over the world, different age groups that are playing rugby. And Aspen, it's off season, so the whole town is sort of taken over by this festival, and a lot of so it's very binary. Lots of men playing rugby and lots of women watching. But it was fun, and I met someone there who was really interesting, and we spent a lot of time talking, sort of shared philosophies, shared ideas, and he was tall, dark, and handsome, which didn't hurt. And I was really fascinated by, the things he was saying. And he asked me at one point, how do you know all of this? Like, where does this come from? And I said, well, these are just sort of my beliefs that I've kind of amalgamated, to use it. I don't know what word I would use, but like what I've kind of created over the years that work for me. And he's like, well, you say a lot of the same things that kind of sound like this teaching that I follow and this training that I've been through. And it turned out he was a practitioner at Agape.
Oh. Love agape.
And one of the things he said to me before the end of the weekend was, there were all these books we would talk about. And he's like, have you read this? Have you read that? And I was like, I got a stack of books this big next to my bed. When I get done with those, let me know another one. But he's like, The Power of Now, that book, Eckhart Tolle, I really think you would love that. You might want to just think about that one. I was like, okay. 2 days later, I'm back in Chicago. My girlfriend, who lives in Australia, who had also been at the rugby festival, lands in my living room, plops her suitcase down, opens it up and pulls out The Power of Now.
There it is.
And says, will you read this? Somebody just gave it to me at the airport and I'm not going to read it.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was like, ding, 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 ding.
That is incredible.
It's so fun, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I searched, Michael Beckwith Chicago and, Centers for Spiritual Living. I don't know exactly what terms, but I ended up finding Chicago Center for Spiritual Living.
Yes.
And here I am all these years later. That was like 2008.
So you started going to the services and then you became involved in the community and then started taking the classes.
Correct. I jumped in pretty quickly. I started taking classes and then, classes led to, well, now that I've taken all of these classes, I'll do practitioner training. And then I thought, well, I'm not going to really hang my, license on the wall or anything, but I did. And then years later ended up ministerial school and here I am.
Yeah. So the ministerial school, like that's a big jump, and it's a really big direction change. And so what prompted you? Was there a moment that you really just said, that was like, okay, that's what I'm going to be doing?
Well, if I'm really honest, and I don't see any reason not to be, back when I was in high school, I had a little inkling about ministerial school. But the traditional path that my family was following and just the various life experiences I was having, I took the meandering path, right?
Yes.
I went to the school of drugs and sex and rock and roll
first.
And I thought that would be a good foundation.
That's right, and it is.
for ministerial school.
I mean, if you come out alive.
I can certainly relate to most people.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
The
that's
more
right.
experiences that we have in the world, the more we
We're
understand
not
other
condoning
people's...
drugs. We are condoning sex and rock and roll. But
I'm
when you recover, you can really come through.
What's the opposite of discondoning? I don't know. I'm not condoning or, approving of or disapproving of anything. I really believe that people have the experience they need to
absolutely.
have in order to remember the truth of who they are.
Right.
I know A Course in Miracles. I'm not a student of A Course in Miracles, but I know that they say everything is either love or a call for love, right? So it's whatever we're experiencing in life is either an experience of love or it's pointing us back to it.
Oh,
saying,
I love that.
You want to go check that out.
Where'd you get that one?
I think A Course in Miracles is where it comes from. But like I said, I'm not an actual student of Course in Miracles, but I'm told that a lot of the things that I say and believe are very similar to Course in Miracles for some reason. But I think truth is truth.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Yeah. But I love that. I mean, because... I don't know. I love this solution in either scenario. Mm-hmm. And I love thinking about when, we're scared or we're not trusting or someone else we're dealing with, that it's really a call for love or to love. I love that.
Yeah. So it's like, to me, one of the best sort of Geiger counters for that is like, what's happening in my body, right? Am I feeling at ease? Am I feeling love? Am I feeling that harmony? Or if I'm having a triggered reaction, or if I'm feeling anxious, or if I'm feeling fear, it's all really just calling us back to reconnect with the divine, the God of your being, whatever that label is that you use to describe love, to describe God.
It's like you're either in alignment, or you're trying to get back into alignment.
Or you don't know
Or
that you're out of alignment.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But it's still...
But it's still the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is your ministry about? Like, what is your message in your ministry?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I kind of ponder that regularly.
That makes sense.
I'm very dedicated to my work at Cityside. I really love, one of the things that I really appreciate about Cityside is that it is collaborative, and it is not about having one special person that's being featured.
Yes.
It's about a lot of people coming and sharing what they know and believe, and that resonates for different people, right? And it keeps you from having someone up on the pedestal.
Yes.
So I really enjoy my work there.
Yeah.
And in terms of what I want to create or do, a large part of that feels like supporting others. That does feel like part of my work
in
part
their
of my
spiritual
ministry.
growth.
Yeah. So I love doing sessions. I love doing one-on-one sessions. I love teaching. I love speaking at Cityside and at other places who invite me. And this idea of something that I've been working on in the last few years is this idea of paint for peace, or using creative practices to sort of bring us back to flow. You've heard people say that when you're creating art, you feel flow, right? You're in that flow. You know what flow is. Why not use that as a way to help people get back to flow? There's a phrase that I borrowed from Sean Ginwright. He wrote a book on the 4 pivots, and I'm not going to get into that, but one of the pivots is from hustle to flow. And I happened to read that a few years ago at the same time that I was working on this art as spiritual practice and painting for peace and that. And to me, flow and peace are very related. And some of what he talks about with from hustle to flow is this, addiction in our culture to hustle, to clamoring to succeed, fighting for what's yours, getting there first, being the top of the class, all of that, and sort of forgetting the love that's the truth of who we are, forgetting the peace that's at the center of our being. So when we can get out of that hustle mindset, when we can let that go and return to our authentic self, that is love, that is peace, we can more easily find the flow, and that's when things happen for us and through us, and we find success comes more easily rather than having to fight for it.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to just come back just a little bit. So you were having a dark night. You found the spiritual teachings, and I want to ask, like, what was one of your challenges, and not specifically, but within yourself, that you really felt like you had to try to heal or overcome or move through, like, an obstacle for you to really be able to live fully?
I'm not sure that in that time frame I would have been able to identify it. I just knew that my life wasn't working. I just knew that I was anxious. I was stressed. I was working like a maniac, like 80 hours a week sometimes. It's like, what's that fear about, right? And having these failed relationships. And it was fascinating to me that I suddenly hit this point of realization that it wasn't working, because up until that time, I always felt like things were pretty good. Like I felt like I was doing all right.
That's
and like I had kind of figured it out in some way. But I believe that when there's a limiting belief running in the background, we develop coping strategies for how to move through life, and they work and they help us until they don't work anymore.
Right.
And then once they're not working, everything is sort of falling apart. And I was at that point where my coping strategies, which I didn't even know what they were, were not working, I was no longer feeling like I could keep going the way
Right.
I was going.
Yeah.
And what I would say in hindsight, that it was that I was outsourcing. So I was trying to find my fulfillment out here instead of in here.
Right. Because why?
Well, why was I outsourcing?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just, sort of our culture
Yeah.
that we're
That's
going,
true.
it's that hustle culture, right? We're
Going to
going for the
get.
gold star,
Yeah.
and we're going to get the big house. We're going to have the relationship. We're going to have the things. We're going to have success in our work, whatever it
Yeah.
is. We're looking for this fulfillment
And
out
we think
here.
those are going to make us whole and feel fulfilled.
And we think that's going to satisfy us. And then what happens with so many people is you get the thing and you're not satisfied. Or
Right.
the thing, you get it, and then when it doesn't work anymore, like the relationship that changed and was no longer making me happy.
Right.
I had to learn that the happiness that I was seeking has to come from within me. And I think that, happiness is a word that we use. Happiness comes from things out here, where
Yes.
joy comes from in here.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I had to learn that if I create joy or align with the joy that's my natural state, then I would experience it out here
Right.
rather than grasping at something out here, because everything out here is temporal.
Right.
It's temporary. It's just going to keep changing. So even
Yeah.
if we get the fulfillment that we're seeking, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
And then what?
Alrighty then. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of my convo with Rev Linda Jackson, from her path into spirituality to her creative callings, from personal healing to public ministry. In part 2, we'll explore her message of love in real time. We'll talk about leadership, community, creativity, and what it really means to stay awake to spirit while navigating the world as it is. Anyways, as always, this has been the Spiritual Shitshow podcast. My name is Suzanne Sole. I would like to thank all you sparkly motherfuckers for listening, and I'll see you on the next one. Roll it, you stunning delight, you.